Hi, sisters. Sorry, I probably gave you a bout of PTSD by invoking the spirit of James Charles. I would never do that to you. I'm sorry. I don't want to make you feel unsafe in this area. We know James Charles is a mutant, an evil man disguising under the guise of LGBTQ allyship in order to coax you into buying his very subpar makeup brand. I've also seen James Charles's chocolate starfish more times than I can count. I keep seeing it on Twitter like just religiously. It's strange. Every time I open Twitter, somebody's like, look, James Charles got leaked. I don't know what's going on there. I gotta stop clicking on the links. That's the thing that's getting me. I keep clicking on them. My computer keeps getting hacked. My fault. That's on me completely. So today, someone sent me an article, and I was very confused why they were sending me things on Discord, and they said, you should react to this article. And I said, interesting. So I'm actively going to react to the article because it's how Nicki Minaj went MAGA. Before we begin, I want to give my thoughts about Nicki Minaj in totality before we get into the deeper parts of why she is a Republican. Most celebrities are probably Republican, and I don't mean they hate trans rights. I mean the quiet Republicans, the conservative mindset, the ones where I make enough money, I don't really have to care about the average person and free healthcare and things of that variety. There are a lot of performative people in celebrity pools to keep their fan base a lot of happy. They'll smile at award shows, donate to the right charities, post the right things on election day, and then go home to neighborhoods where everyone votes the same way they do because they get those tax breaks. Hollywood is a company town. The company's politics are well known. You don't bite the hand that cast you, obviously. You do not alienate the producers who greenlight your projects. You not become the next headline about a conservative actor being blacklisted. So you stay quiet. You donate to both sides. You post about puppies and sunsets and, oh, it's June. We gotta vote for gay people. This is great. It's not really complicated. High earners, like a lot of money, benefit from Republican tax policies. That's it. Lower capital gains taxes, fewer regulations, loopholes. And that makes sense when you have enough money to hire someone to explain them. A celebrity making $20 million a year has more in common with a hedge fund manager than with, I don't know, a struggling YouTuber, perhaps, or you who's struggling at McDonald's. They don't care about you in any capacity. Their interests align with the party that cuts taxes, deregulates industries, and protects wealth. That's Republicans, because Republicans help small business owners because they want everybody in America to be wealthy. And if you make a lot of money, then by all means, you're going to want to get those tax cuts. The fact that they play progressives on television does not change the reality of their bank accounts. The performance is the job. The voting is obviously private. Two things are going to coexist at once. Let's say Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt is very open about his faith. We know this, right? The faith leads to certain political positions. He doesn't talk about them. He just quietly exists as a person who, I don't know, posts about Jesus and votes accordingly. I think Sydney Sweeney is loosely Republican. Her family has Republican ties. I think she's registered as a Republican. That's what this whole thing there. Kelsey Grammer. You probably don't know Kelsey Grammer. I don't know. She's been a conservative for decades. I think Tyler Perry, in some small ways, is very conservative in the way that he operates as a Q thing. And the list goes longer than people think. John Voight, James Woods, never shuts up about it. Tim Allen. Oh my God, who was it? Chuck Norris is gone. He's gone. Kanye West ran for president and endorsed Donald Trump multiple times. 50 Cent posted about his album cover, like posted Trump on his album cover. That's the whole thing. Kid Rock. Amber Rose spoke at the Republican convention. Dana White, who I believe runs the UFC in that variety. Dennis Quaid played Reagan and mentored Zachary Levi, I believe, as well. You probably don't know a lot of these celebrities. I just know the Republicans are the ones. Clint Eastwood is Republican. I feel like a lot of these shouldn't surprise you. I think the part that really is getting people about Nicki Minaj is that she's black. Right? Oh my goodness, she's black. This is ridiculous. How many black celebrities vote Republican and never say a word? You will never know because the risk is far too high. I think Tyler Perry is the most interesting case of this because he built an empire on stories about black resilience, faith, and family. He votes, he donates, he stays out of the partisan scream matches. His politics are basically his own, but he's very conservative in the way that he does things, despite the fact that he dresses up like a woman and basically does drag essentially in very verbose ways, if I could be so bold to say. But the unspoken rule in Hollywood is simple: you can be conservative as long as you are not publicly conservative. You can vote Republican as long as you do not say you vote a Republican. You can believe whatever you want as long as you signal the right things at the right times. It's what it is. The performance has to stay the same. That's how it operates. Nicki Minaj is very, very, very pro Trump. This whole conservative thing that she's doing is interesting, and the article we're going to read is going to go into that. But the Barbs are legendary for their loyalty, right? But they are heavy queer. A huge portion of that loyalty is going to come from the LGBTQ plus community. Like, they're her ally. Like, she is an ally to them. She's a champion. She's someone who understood what it felt like to be different and wild. Roman's revenge. Roman was an altar. It was like so much. She played that role well. She collected the adoration, and then she kind of pivoted to MAGA. I don't know if it's because she has a husband that is a registered offender. I don't know. I really don't grasp it. I really don't know. It's strange. It's very, very strange. And I think this is a good lesson, and you should never meet your heroes because they were never who you imagined them to be. I think that's how it always operates, because you projected your values onto their art, their persona, their carefully crafted public image, and then you get upset because you learn about them. So let's learn about Nicki Minaj. The title of the article is How Nicki Minaj Went MAGA. Very interesting key art here, so let's get to reading. I'm going to take my glasses off. Gee willikers, oh my goodness. Inside the gilded clubhouse of Mar-a-Lago, there is a scatter of Donald Trump iconography that blurs the line between myth and memorabilia. A gold statuette depicts the president with fists raised in triumph, invoking his defiant pose after the assassinating attempt in Butler, PA. Nearby stands a hulking Lifetime Achievement Trophy, designating him as the greatest historical president of all time, which I don't know, that just feels crazy to say, bestowed by the American Academy of Hospitality Sciences. I don't know what that American Academy is. A painting titled The Visionary casts Trump as a sunlit Adonis in tennis whites. On a recent afternoon, I'm waiting in this wood panel room known as the Library Bar with a phalanx of a side Streisand escorting one of Trump's unlikeliest champions, Nicki Minaj. This has been a blow for a lot of people, but I want to point this out. This does not shock me in the way that people think it should shock me. I don't really understand why Nicki Minaj being a Trump supporter shocks pretty much anybody, because she has a husband who is, I believe, an offender, right? And her brother did something bad as well. I believe her family is steeped in controversies over and over again, and she herself, I believe, was also an illegal immigrant. So there's a lot of stuff about Nicki Minaj that kind of key in points to where she would cater to the party that helps her out when it comes to that. So that's what it is. The best-selling female rapper in history, that's a fact, she is, has just addressed the World Liberty Forum, a crypto confab hosted by Trump's sons, Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump. She pauses to take in the decor, asking about portraits of Trump and of Mar-a-Lago's original owner. Marjorie Merriweather posts admiring the visionary. She remarks that Trump has a unique aura. It's the same way Marilyn Monroe represents a vibe. She says Donald Trump is his own vibe. Holy glaze. Holy Krispy Kreme donut. What an insane amount of glaze we are getting immediately. She knows how to glaze, I'll tell you that much. This is pretty interesting. It's so interesting seeing the black conservative just be so vehemently glazeful of Donald Trump. It's so interesting because I don't think he does anything for the black community in totality. I'm not quite sure. He doesn't really seem to care about the black community, as even more recently, Tennessee gutted the black community, gerrymandering and cutting up the maps to stunt the black vote in totality as of recently as 3 days ago. So I'm not quite sure if she's fighting for the people or fighting for her own interests. She's a celebrity, so I imagine she's fighting for her own interests. So is Minaj. She is wearing a shiny gold satin jacket, diamonds as big as the Ritz, and fluffy high heels. At 43, she is one of the defining pop rap figures of the era, with more than 130 Billboard Hot 100 entries, more than 20 BET Awards, tens of billions of global streams, and a social media reach exceeding 200 million followers. Yet her turn from provocative path breaking artist to Trump acolyte has made her a pariah to some in the music industry and surprised her own fan base known as the Barbs, who emulate her Barbie-like aesthetic of wigs, bright colors, and gloss, which is always just a strange discomfort. It is so odd to see the nonsense that is happening with the garbage of Nicki Minaj. I really pity her in the ways that stand out the most. It's disgusting. Minaj's transformation was both organic politically. She has long been more conservative than many of her fans may have realized. I feel like if you pay attention to Nicki Minaj for more than 10 minutes, you pretty much understand, if you're not under the delusion of being a barb, you pretty much understand how she leans politically based on who she chooses to associate with and how she speaks about certain issues and her silence about certain things, and how she has this very cult-like mentality when it comes to her word is law, and how she chooses to have her beef with people that are in the same category as her, where she feels as though she is the main person that she should be getting all of the, I would say, publicity for. She doesn't like anybody that is her contemporary people. She doesn't like Cardi B. She doesn't like Megan Thee Stallion. She does not like anybody that does the same thing she does, because she is the progenitor. She is the one and only. She cannot share her spotlight, which is very indicative of a very narcissistic way of a cult mentality that has been cultivated by her tribal fan base known as the Barbs. So that's pretty much how I viewed Nicki Minaj for a long time. I never in any way would think that somebody that cares about the words of the common people would operate in this frequency. So, in the product of a deliberate strategy orchestrated by the president's political operation sitting next to her in the Liberty Hall is one of the architects of that effort. Alex Dershowitz, 29, the right-wing influencer turned senior Trump advisor during the 2024 campaign. Dershowitz spearheaded what became known internally as the podcast strategy, which is very smart. Trump went on a bunch of podcasts. He was with Aiden Ross, got his eyes in the lines of a lot of young people and very indoctrinating them into the young youth. See, despite all my criticisms of Trump, he's a little smart when it comes to manipulation, which is a trait of a lot of influencers. He was a celebrity and still operates as if he's still a celebrity. I believe he's a celebrity first, then a businessman, then a president. That's pretty much how he operates. So he knew what would get the people riled up. He knows that most Americans are primarily white men. That's basically what makes up a large part of America. And he knows that a lot of white women will follow a lot of those white men. So he tried to get the white man vote by people that felt guilty about being white and were pushed away by the radical left. So he harping in on that, which is what he did. So this is what happened. The podcast strategy, booking Trump on a roster of popular hosts whose audience is skewed young and male. See? Theo Von, Lex Fridman, Sean Ryan, Joe Rogan. I believe these people cause a lot of anger and vitriol within a lot of this stuff. Theo Von likes to center himself as the middle ground, same as Joe Rogan. I believe Theo Von is a net negative overall for the abundance of the culture. I don't know Sean Ryan or Lex Fridman, but I do know Joe Rogan and Theo Von. Probably that's because their names are underlined like that because they're more prolific than the two. The campaign amplified Trump's support from figures like the rapper Amber Rose, I already talked about Amber Rose, who spoke at the Republican National Convention, brandished endorsements from NFL icons like Lawrence Taylor and Brent Favre, and sent him to NASCAR races and UFC fights. Very heavy masculine UFC, NASCAR. We have NFL icons. We have this all. It's the same old thing. We got it. Call it the celebrity engagement strategy, an approach aimed less at persuasion through policy than through forging cultural affinities by cultivating celebrity validators. That's smart. That's just smart, because you got to understand, people like to criticize a lot of people for being single issue voters, but a lot of people just go based off of their gut feeling or reaction because they trust themselves more than they trust big words and big papers. A lot of people are very undereducated, and Trump loves the people who are not educated. Trump does not like smart people. He will tell you that himself. He is not a fan of smart people. He says, oh, smart people, they make me uncomfortable. I don't like smart people. They always mess me up. I don't grasp that.
Smart people don't like me, you know, and they don't like what we talk about.
Those are his own words. I'm not like putting words in his mouth. I like to at least show what I'm talking about when I make an absurd statement such as smart people don't like me and Trump saying it. It just makes sense. There was a concerted effort from many across the campaign to strengthen the president's political standing by reviving what America loved about President Trump. Him at the center of pop culture, which is fair. That's pretty much what it was, because pop culture is more prolific and more known than politics, says Brian Jack, Trump's former political director and now a Republican congressman from Georgia. The Trump team's thesis is that in an era where traditional institutions have lost authority, cultural identification may matter more than ideological alignment. And I want to point this out. That is such a key manipulation strategy. You don't really, this is just out in the public in the open. Trump's team is admitting, hey, we don't really care about policy. We're not really here to sell you on policy. We're here to sell you on ideas. If we can sell you on a story, a WWE brandishing story, we can get a cultural movement going through, we can figure out how things operate and we can get this moving very fast. So this is important for manipulation and how YouTubers operate, how influencers operate, how content creators operate. Our goal at the end of the day as content creators is to get you into a video. That's pretty much it. We just want to get you into the video so we can sell you something like this microphone, this HyperX, or maybe I'll wear these glasses in the video and you see these glasses and you want to buy these. These are on Amazon, by the way. I think I have a link in the description to buy the microphone and these glasses. There are ways to sell you products. That's why we take sponsorships. I don't take many sponsorships because a lot of sponsorships want me to shill out a lot of garbage that I don't really care about. I'm not really a fan of doing stuff that I wouldn't use myself. I don't really appreciate that, but that's how a lot of content creators work. We operate under that main thing of we got to get you in the door so we can sell you something. That's all we want to do. That's it. That's pretty much it. It's also a bid to recast Republican politics as culturally transgressive, a movement that promises expressive freedom in contrast to what supporters portray as censorious liberal orthodoxy. The metaphor invoked by Trump's allies is a high school social scene in which Republicans are the rebellious cool kids and Democrats are the rule enforcing hallway monitors, this is very smart. Dude, this is actually really smart. That is so smart. It's evil. It's disgusting. It's very incorrect, but it is smart. If you're Republican, you're different. You're a different kind of guy. The Democrats want to take away your freedoms and do all this stuff. And I do got to say this as somebody that is very critical of the Democratic Party. They are cowards. They do not have the backbone or the foresight or the ability to fight for the things they want. So it is very nonsensical to see. So the goal is to use celebrity surrogates as ambassadors of a certain kind, lending familiarity to a political brand and offering entry points to audiences otherwise disengaged from conventional politics. So Nicki Minaj would be a main proprietor of a lot of gay Republicans or a lot of trans Republicans that might be popping up because they feel a connection with her. As a former fixture of the New York tabloids, House of Boxing Masters, and the Miss America pageant at his Atlantic City casinos, and reality television star, Trump has long understood that politics is downstream of culture. That's just true. In recent months, he hosted soccer sensation Cristiano Ronaldo in the White House, issued a fast turnaround State of the Union invitation to the Olympic champion U.S. men's hockey team, hosted former NBA player Tristan Thompson in the West Wing, and partnered with his close friend Dana White to arrange plans to hold a UFC bout on the White House lawn this summer. Bershowitz has specialized in engineering these moments, from a round of golf with Super Bowl champion Saquon Barkley and a appearance alongside comedian Shane Gillis and singer Zach Bryan at the Super Bowl to photo ops with the boxing legend Mike Tyson and actor Vince Vaughn. Moments like these cut through to young people in a way that no other politician can, Bershowitz says. I want to talk about the subtle manipulation that indoctrinated a lot of people that I know into this mindset, and I had to unlearn myself, because when you hear about Donald Trump, you don't research your stuff, you don't read, you don't go this far into an article, because most people aren't going this far into an article. Hence why I make content of this variety, so I can read this to you, so you can probably do this on your drive or while you're doing something. Comment what you're doing in the background right now. If you have me a second monitor content, I'd appreciate it. Or maybe you just enjoy looking at my eyes. Look at us, we're so locked in. Are you happy you're in this polycule with me where it's completely platonic and I have no romantic interest in any of you whatsoever? It's so lovely. So that's basically what the nonsense of manipulation goes for a lot of young people. They see people such as Shane Gillis, who's funny to them, or Mike Tyson, who was the heavyweight champion back in the day, and people fear maybe they saw Mike Tyson mysteries. I prolifically love Mike Tyson. He's one of my favorite boxers of all time, mostly for his love of pigeons. If you don't know about Mike Tyson's love of pigeons, it's a very known secret. It's very known. Like, he has a great passion in life for raising pigeons. He got his first fight protecting one. Like, the pigeons are the reason he became a boxer. Like, it's a whole thing. about how pigeons are a big part of Mike Tyson's life. It's why in Mike Tyson Mysteries, one of his best friends in the show is a pigeon. It's a very important thing. And culturally, I know these stupid little fun facts about people because I am deeply ingrained in celebrity culture and deeply ingrained in learning about actors and all these people and learning about their roles. I know about Michael Jackson and The Wiz. I know about how horrifying the original Wizard of Oz was and how terrifying it was for the actors on set. I know about how Adam Sandler had a lot of racist caricatures back in the day, same as Rob Schneider. I just know about a lot of stuff because movies have always enticed me with how they change depending on the culture. There are some movies that are wildly dated because they played into a lot of stereotypes. The early 2000 teen drama and teen movies are now seen as ridiculous today because they're cringy and don't fit to the certain culture, and that will happen with the next culture and the next culture, and every generation will always do this down a downtrodden path. That is called history. It happens everywhere. It always has happened, and that's how we feel about culture and history. And then we'll feel nostalgic for those things because we're reminiscing of a time we didn't get to live in, and that's why we enjoy things that are older than what they are, and that's why people romanticize certain things about the past. That's how we operate because we're very emotional creatures. We're not very logical when it comes to this. You ever see a white person say, oh, I wish I were back in the 50s, the aesthetic was so cool. Well, the aesthetic was cool, but the reality of the lived experience was horrifying for workers and people in the steel mills and people actually having fear of cold wars and the terrors of the politics that were happening, and you didn't have instant access to information, so politicians could easily lie to you, and you only had the people around you to get your mindset and political views from, so you didn't really get to meet all the people. Now we have the wealth of the World Wide Web where we all can talk to each other and learn new things, and actually have the Library of Alexandria at our fingertips at all points in time. This phone right here, it is amazing to have that and able to learn things, and this would be a great time for a ground news sponsor, but I didn't take any sponsors for this video. We're just talking about the whole thing here, but that's really what happened in the world. That's what happened with us. We have become so ingrained in celebrity culture that this is what we use as a benchmark for goodness based on how pretty somebody is, how articulate somebody is, how amazing somebody is. So when Nicki Minaj going to MAGA isn't that big of a surprise to me because she's doing what is best for, I think, essentially her brand and her livelihood. The results of the celebrity strategy has been uneven. In 2020, voters under 30 favored Joe Biden by roughly 25 points. By 2024, that margin had tightened dramatically, with Kamala Harris I don't know how to say her name correctly. Is it Kamala or Kamala? I don't know. I'm just going to say Kamala Harris, leading Trump among young voters by just 4 points. According to Tufts University's Center for Information and Research on Civic Learning and Engagement, his appearance on Rogan's podcast and Rogan's subsequent endorsement offered a glimpse of the strategy's potential. But Rogan has since criticized Trump's deportation policies, likening them to Gestapo oh my goodness, this word, Gestapo tactics, even as he stood behind the president when he signed an executive order to fast-track FDA review for psychedelic drugs for treating post-traumatic stress disorder and other conditions. And that's lobbying 101. If you're friends with somebody in politics, they will push the executives things, or if you're an influencer, they'll push something that benefits you. Joe Rogan is very loud about how much he loves psychedelics, about how microdosing helps people. And I'll give you an example of lobbying if you don't know what lobbying is. Let's say the McDonald's owner of McDonald's, the CEO, Ray Kroc, whatever his name is, or whoever the guy is now, not sure who it is. I watched that Founder movie and that's the only thing that's going through my mind. So McDonald's guy, right? He says, I want to build 47 McDonald's along this highway that's 2 miles long. And then Trump says, well, I'll give you the sanctions to do so, but you have to get me in office and I'll give you the sanctions to build as many McDonald's as you want. So the McDonald's CEO will give the president an endorsement of $10 million saying, here goes $10 million for your campaign, use to run ads, and then you give me this free thing. And people say, well, that's illegal. Okay. That doesn't mean they're not going to do it. I mean, a lot of things are illegal and people still do it. I don't really understand what that does for anybody. So Joe Rogan was very happy about the psychedelic drugs for post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, and that's very important for him. Between Trump's immigration crackdowns, his tariffs, the launch of the Iran war, and the inflation it produced, the mission of attracting young voters through celebrity endorsement has only grown more challenging. A recent Yale Youth poll found Trump's approval at just 34% among voters 22 and younger, and 32% among those ages 23 to 29. And it's not a bad strategy, but people can also still be smart. right? Because we are using a lot of more of our resources and understanding things, and we have more ways to connect. Now, but while some of the targets of the celebrity strategy have backed away from Trump, Minaj has emerged as at its cornerstone. She boasts tens of millions of followers who are predominantly young black women, which is like the opposite demographic of what Trump is even close to understanding. Young black women are the most, and I mean this with my whole chest, the most ostracized and harmed community in the nation. They are the most criticized, they are the most ridiculed. I remember I'm working on a video right now called Afros Are Not Feminine. That's pretty much the working title for the video. I think of the long hair effect. When you think of long hair, what do you think of, right? I want you to really think about this for a second. If you Google search long hair, where do you see an afro at? Where is an afro? So whenever you hear the term long hair, and I want to put this fully on screen for you for a moment if I could, where do you see afro? Right? How far down do I have to scroll down to see afro? Because when people hear long hair, they often think of just down to your shoulders. They don't think of afro. Despite the fact that if you looked at me, right, if you had a conversation with me, and it's mostly white people as well for some reason, I have long hair. I have incredibly long hair. This is a lot of hair, but it's not long to a lot of people, and that distinction matters. Long hair is feminine. Right? And this is very important. Afros are not feminine. And I think about this a lot. And the reason is because a lot of black people, and this is so important, a lot of people will look at black women, see they have their natural hair, which is an afro, mind you, and then say that's not feminine. So there's this masculinity, there's this push to make black women significantly more masculine than what they are in order to diminish them in society's ways, in order to make blackness and womanhood seem masculine and more aggressive and more angry, and it's this whole thing. So they're very disrespected in so many different ways because in common day culture and zeitgeist, despite the fact that we are trying to break gender norms, being viewed as masculine is still a negative sign of a lot of stuff. So her doing this, Nicki Minaj doing this in the way the culture is set up now is a little disrespectful, I think. A demographic long presumed out of reach for Republicans. See, it really is. The rapper's budding friendship with the president represents both a symbolic breakthrough and a strategic wager. The belief that cultural validation can serve as political currency. Trump's ally, Minaj, is not just a celebrity endorsement, but also a narrative. Someone who privately harbored right-wing sympathies and now feels free to express them. You should have kept that to yourself, Nicki Minaj. If I could be so bold, you should really keep that to yourself because that is disgusting. As we wander the Mar-a-Lago corridors, Minaj stops to revel in the curiosities sprinkled across the property. I love the language of this article. You can tell that this is definitely somebody writing this. Pausing at his 1927 Steinway piano in the clubhouse, she lights up talking about her recent comeback tour. I've never felt happier. I've never felt better, she says. When you can be yourself, you're happier. I'm so happy that she feels great being a bigot and not posturing and not pretending to be something she's not. It's a very welcoming experience when somebody can be the truly horrible, narcissistic, egotistical, nasty, vitriolic, hateful, spiteful, demeaning person they truly are inside of their heart. And that's lovely to me. I think that's beautiful, and I'm happy for Nicki for doing that. The rapper's political reinvention should not come as a complete shock. The Trinidadian-born star behind hits like Super Bass, Starships, first hinted at a contrarian political streak in 2012, when she slipped a line into a guest verse on Lil Wayne's track Mercy. I'm a Republican voting for Mitt Romney. You lazy bitchs effing up the economy. Kind of a bar. I mean, like, I don't know, man. I don't know. That's kind of a bar. Nicki Minaj's flow is objectively kind of banger. I know we want to criticize her for everything she's doing, and her personality is evil and disgusting, but I mean, like, even me saying that, I was like, kind of a bar. I do appreciate. I can even hear Nicki Minaj saying the aga kind of flow that she has. It's pretty tough to me. I do appreciate it, but it took until Trump's second term for her to emerge as an emissary. Interesting. Then we got RFK and Joe Rogan right here. We got Joe Rogan just right there, just looking at him right there. It's interesting that Joe Rogan centers himself as somebody that is basically a centrist, but vehemently is just horrifically right-wing now because it gets him into deeper circles. Which I suppose, it's fair. I can understand being completely just gobsmacked and completely destroyed by the pull of getting higher power. Because absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I don't hate anyone for being truly corrupted by immense power, because most people don't get the chance to deal with immense power, and immense power can ruin your life. It can make you feel like you have power where you don't. It's nobody wants to feel powerless, and everybody wants legacy. It's very human to want power. It just is. I don't know what to tell you. Throughout all of history, people have gone through hell and high water just to get power. I'm not immune to it. Most people aren't immune to it. We want big follower counts. We want our business to blow up. We grasp it. We want power. We want legacy. We want fame. We want attention, gravitas. That's how we operate as humans, and the quick way to do that is to grift, and most people will do it. And it's disgusting because it really shows how you have no morality, but it does show that it's easy, and people want to choose easy because easy wins and hard always loses. The motivations Minaj offers during her more than 90-minute conversation at Mar-a-Lago are layered. She was disappointed by former President Barack Obama, she says, and frustrated by the expectation that black entertainers will reflexively vote Democratic. I am so curious. Everybody tells me they're disappointed with Barack Obama, but Barack Obama helped out poor people a lot. I'm really confused. And I don't consider Barack Obama as a perfect president. I don't think he's perfect, but he's very well liked, and he helped out a lot of poor people. I think that he may have made a lot of mistakes, as most people do and most presidents do, but I think overall he was a net positive overall. Her lingering disillusionment is partly personal, a product of the company Obama kept. Minaj has a long-standing rivalry with Jay-Z, an Obama friend. All right, that's just so petty. That's such a petty reason. It's not even about his policies. It's just about Jay-Z. Rooted in her allegation that Jay-Z tried to sabotage her career through Roc Nation, his entertainment and sports company, which she says has accumulated such concentrated power in the industry that many artists have come to resent him. I think Jay-Z ended up costing Obama a lot, whether he knows it or not, she tells me. Lots of rappers don't like Jay-Z and were afraid to say it. Roc Nation did not respond to a request for comment. Okay, so this is real interesting to me. This is very interesting to me because the rap game is always manipulative. We can see that with P. Diddy. We can see that with Suge Knight. We can see that with how producers in the rap game always operate. It's very manipulative, very exploitative of young artists. That's just how it is. These contracts, even Drake's company is very, very disgusting towards artists. He was stealing stuff from XXXTentacion, stealing the flow and doing all that variety. It's very, I push you down to get to the top. You can even see that with people like Ray Charles, where he used people to get to the top. It's just a very big thing in the music industry where you're trying to build those connections and network, and you got to be hungry, and by hungry you got to eat other people. That's how it operates. Nicki Minaj having this petty beef and rivalry for the horrifying nature of the rap industry and using that to hate Obama is crazy. Minaj's frustration with Obama crested during the 2024 election cycle, campaigning for Harris. The former president observed that some black male voters were uncomfortable making women the world's most powerful person. Yeah, I mean, this is just a fact. I don't even know how to tell you. I don't even know how to tell you. Like, I just want to point that out. Like, it's really crazy. The internalized misogyny, or more so not even internalized, just the pure outward vitriol of misogyny. I knew a black guy who said, hey, I don't want to tell you this, bro, but I might vote for Trump because I don't think we need a black woman in office. I said, seems strange. I voted for Harris, by the way. I want to point this out. I voted for Harris in 2024. That's what I voted for. And I said, why you want Trump? No, he said, I don't want Trump or nothing, man, but I don't know, man. Think about a woman. I said, I am thinking about it. That's crazy. Now, a lot of you are saying, and you dropped that friend, right? And you dropped that friend, right? I know, that was kind of my ride. I needed him for rides, to be quite honest with you. I couldn't drop him at the time. And now that I'm in a more financially stable position, he's still the best Apex partner that I have. I can't really get rid of him, to be quite fair with you. It would the same way I feel about my Guilty Gear Strive coach, who is trans. the person that teaches me how to play Guilty Gear Strive, because I'm horrible at the game. I'm really bad at 2D side-to-side fighting games a lot of the time, especially when it comes to technical combos. So it's very hard to... My personal friendships are very, very complicated because I have people on a lot of the wide-ranging spectrum. We don't talk about politics a lot of the time, but when we do, it's always a hash bash of discuss. Getting rid of my friends feels the same way as getting rid of a lot of my family members, because if I get rid of my friends, and then if my family messes up, because they do often, because my family is evil and toxic and disgusting, I won't have my friends to rely on, who I use as emotional support. I need a safety net, and I don't want to have this coalescing echo chamber. I know it's weird to bring up my personal allegiances here, but it's just learning about these people disgusts me. And I try to do the effort of trying to convert them or teach them things, because I understand the mindset. I know what it's like to be manipulated by a powerful person and being confused by propaganda, so I at least try to educate these people and learn about them. I have a lot of patience for a lot of people that hate me, and people think I'm stupid for that, but that's okay. My goal is to be kind, not to be liked. Minaj found it condescending. I just saw so many videos of black men saying they didn't like the way they felt about the speech that Obama gave. She says they felt like they weren't being listened to. I'm not going to comment on that. I'm just going to keep going. Minaj spends hours scrolling through TikTok, X, and Instagram, a feedback loop that accelerated her political conversion. Holy doom scroll. I keep forgetting Nicki Minaj is basically a boomer. All right, we got to understand, Nicki Minaj is basically a boomer. And I think this is just a side opinion. I think that boomers are more prone to manipulation by AI and propaganda than most people would like to admit. Boomers are the lowest demographic for being manipulated by AI girls. You can see it in a Facebook group or post. Oh, she's so pretty, or they're so nice, or the Instagram AI epidemic, where these AI influencers are Instagram models, and you see boomers just scrolling through and giving them money. It's a very real thing. So that's the whole thing there. She was the target of online backlash in 2021, where she voiced skepticism about COVID vaccines and made an allegation that exploded across social media. A friend for her cousin in Trinidad, she wrote, had developed swollen testicles after vaccination, became impotent, and had to cancel his wedding. Minaj urged followers to pray on it and make sure you're comfortable with your decision, not bullied. Okay. Very conservative to use God as a way to pray on it, which is fair. Most people are Christian, and that's a fair thing to do. And I want to point this out, right? When COVID first came out, now this is going to sound crazy, I just remembered the Arizona black men that were given syphilis. The Tuskegee syphilis study, where they gave the Negro male just syphilis. It was from 1932 to 1972. They just kept giving black people syphilis for the love of the game. It was a free vaccine. They were lying to them. They were just saying, hey, we're going to give you guys something cool, something great. They just kept giving black people syphilis. I don't know what that was about. That was disgusting. It was very nasty. So anytime the government gives me something for free, I am willfully skeptical of everything they do. I am just wildly skeptical of any time the government says, here goes something free to make sure you guys are all safe. That just scares me a little bit, because I keep thinking about this. I think about this more often than I really should. So I don't trust the government whenever they say they want to give me something for free. It's a very well documented thing. It's very disgusting. It is the most disgusting thing. They didn't even tell them they were giving them syphilis. They didn't explain that they were giving them syphilis. I can use Wikipedia in dark mode. Whoa, that changed the game completely. Didn't even know I could do this. Wow, that changed my eyes so much. I'm never changing that. Jesus Christ. The claim drew recriminations from the left and public health experts. Terrence Delacin, I don't know how to say her name, Trinidad and Tobago's health minister, held a press conference to say there was no evidence that COVID vaccine were causing testicular swelling. Minaj was embittered. I guess they had examined everyone's testicles in Trinidad and came back to tell me I was lying, she scoffs. And I want to point this out. Nicki Minaj is somebody who rarely ever admits that she's wrong. It's a very common trait among a lot of Republican people, a lot of people in this variety, to say, hey, I'm not wrong, you guys are wrong. It shows, they believe it shows strength. It's very dad mentality, where a dad never really admits he's wrong. Out of the controversy emerged an unexpected ally. Charlie Kirk, the conservative activist and founder of Turning Point USA, rushed to her defense. Democrats' treatment of Nicki Minaj should be all the proof you need. They don't care about black people, especially those they can't control, Kirk tweeted. They just use them every 4 years for their votes, but people are waking up. So, I hate Charlie Kirk. God rest his soul. I don't like anything that Charlie Kirk said. I do not think that Republicans are for black people. I don't think Democrats are for black people. I don't think any of these systems in place are really for black people, to be quite honest with you. But at least the Democrats are willing to talk, is more so than anything, and the Republicans are going to say, well, you're one of the good ones, right to my face. It's really just overt racism versus covert racism, and I don't really like the one letter difference, because the C is adding a COON is what you're adding there. You're just adding a C to that just to add the cracker in it is really what you're doing. That's all I hear when I hear overt versus covert. It's really disgusting. So that's what I feel about that. By that point, Minaj had been drifting toward Trump's policies for a while. Throughout his rise, she says she stayed quiet for fear of alienating fans. I felt that way already about him, just that I didn't dare act like that publicly, she tells me. It's been ingrained in everyone's brain in the music business that we're supposed to be a Democratic family. I just knew they would not like me supporting Trump. And that's smart. To a lot of your fans are probably going to be Democrat, and more so than anything, unless you're doing country music, then you can just, grift to Republicans all day you want to. Her approach changed after a series of unnerving episodes at her Los Angeles home in 2022 and 2023. Her $20 million mansion in a gated enclave became the target of repeated swatting calls. That you shouldn't get swatted. Swatting is a horrible thing. People have threatened to swat me all the time, and I get scared about it a lot. It makes me horribly paranoid. $20 million mansion, though. What do you need that much space for? What do you need that much opulence for? I don't understand all these big mega mansions. It seems goofy. Anonymous hoaxes that summoned heavily armed police at her doorstep. Law enforcement had not identified or arrested anyone in connection with the incidents. The Los Angeles Police Department said it could not verify details about the incidents without additional information. The experience was frightening, she says, especially for her young son. That's fair. I think that is very, very fair. I'm not sure who was swatting her. I'm not quite sure. I don't know. On X, she sought help from California Governor Gavin Newsom through intermediary. She says she requested a meeting, but she never heard back. He just completely ignored me with all the money I spent in taxes, she said. Newsom's office did not respond for a request for comment. After a swatting attack happened in April 2025, according to a police report, the episode drew the attention of a cadre of very online Republicans. Among them was Anna Luna, the former model and Turning Point USA activist turned congresswoman from Florida. Luna, a close friend of Dershowitz, called Minaj. She then connected the rapper with federal law enforcement officials and private security firm, and she uses, I was shocked. Minaj says of Luna, since I never seen anyone in politics treat me that way. She began to reconsider going public as a part of Trump's MAGA movement. That's what made me say I don't care to keep this a secret anymore. And this is going to sound very conspiratorial of me. Maybe they swatted you and then used this as a way to get political vantage point with you, perhaps. Maybe they're the ones who swatted you and then knew that you were reaching out and the Democratic Party wasn't going to help you out. And then they used their connections and internal things to do something that is wholly illegal, which is helping your friends in politics and using networking opportunities to do so. I feel as though that is just what happened. Maybe I'm dumb, maybe I'm stupid, but I digress. On November 20th, Minaj arrived at the United States to deliver a speech about the prosecution of Christians in Africa. A crush of fans pressed against barricades, phones aloft, straining for a glimpse as she made her way from the U.S. mission towards the General Embassy. Dershowitz guided her across First Avenue, up the steps, and through the security perimeter. In a bland fluorescent lit holding room before the event, Minaj was nervous. A performer accustomed to commanding jam-packed stadiums was momentarily awed by the setting. The Fox News anchor Harris Faulkner snapped selfies with the rapper as aides milled about. When the moment came, Trump's UN ambassador Mike Waltz told her it was time. Minaj paused, inhaled, and said quietly, almost to herself, "Here we go." The rapper's path to the podium began with conversations with her pastor, Dr. Peter Echichukwu. I don't know how to say his name, I'm so sorry. A Nigerian native who also serves as a motivational speaker. He had shared stories with Minaj about the persecution of Christian communities in Nigeria, where attacks by extremely gruesome militias have fueled a climate of insecurity, church buildings, kidnappings, and sporadic massacres that often drew little sustained international attention. It's not clear how the issue wound up on Trump's radar, but on October 21st, the president posted about the issue on Truth Social. The United States cannot stand by while such atrocities are happening in Nigeria and numerous other countries. He wrote, "We stand ready, willing, and able to save our Christian population around the world." And this is more so the thing about black conservatism, by how a lot of black conservatives are more so very heavily Christian based. As a matter of fact, I don't think a lot of black people are more so Republican, or more so they want to admit to it. They'll say they're just church based. And I think a lot of the basis of the church is heavily conservative. There are so little LGBTQ protections in the church in any capacity, and there's so little help when it comes to a lot of these people, when it comes to, I would say, Republican hate. There's more conservative people in the church than I'd like to admit. So Minaj responded on X with a note of gratitude, thanking Trump for elevating the issue. The next day, Dershowitz reached out to Minaj, whom he knew through a mutual friend since the start of Trump's second term. Dershowitz had functioned as a kind of celebrity envoy, the informal courtier of figures whose cultural capital could be converted into political credibility. He contacted Waltz, proposing an invitation to address a room of global diplomats. Waltz extended the invite publicly through X, and Minaj agreed. I think that this is a very smart strategy to get the gay vote, or more so the barbs, who are a very large portion of the gay vote, or at least gay white men that love Nicki Minaj, that emulate effeminate black women, and getting young black women who saw themselves in Nicki Minaj, who wanted to actually express themselves. This is just great propaganda and manipulation tactics by people who understand the game better than we could possibly fathom, seeing a moment of weakness and capitalizing on that, using predatory tactics to gain a way into a very mentally weak person such as Nicki Minaj, and using her strong verbose ego to make sure everybody around her is in the same mindset, because they are a very cult-like following. That's how the barbs go. And seeing how the barbs weaponize a lot of the stuff Nicki Minaj says against any criticism of her, they use that as an opportunity to push Trump's pretty much wild policies. That's how it is. The appearance was carefully calibrated. Minaj's address was cautious, dipping only a toe into the waters of overt partisanship. She thanked Trump for drawing attention to the issue while wrapping her message in universal language. Protecting Christians in Nigeria is not about taking sides, she said. It's about uniting humanity, which is interesting. I think that's interesting. I think you can say pretty words all you want to, but the end result will always be the same. And this is Nicki Minaj right here. She is just having a good time. Minaj acknowledged the president thanks on the January event, touting Trump's branded savings account. Brandon Schmowalski, AP, Getty Images right here. That's where the source is. So that's Nicki Minaj right there. She is a piece of pepper in a sea of salt, is what I'm saying. That was not enough to stop a torrent of headlines, memes, and denunciations online. The claims that Christians in Nigeria are being targeted for their faith is as contentious as Minaj's expertise on the matter, wrote the New Republic. That's such a bar. Instead of deterring Minaj, it emboldened her. And this is what happens when people give you criticism. Nobody learns through shame. Learning through shame is not going to work in any capacity. If you shame somebody and think they will learn their lesson, they will only hardly go to the side that openly welcomes them. If you push somebody into the arms of somebody that is your enemy, you are going to make an enemy out of somebody who was once your friend. I think that mindset happens a lot, especially on the left, and then more so as well on the right. But the right will forgive you as long as you give your way to community, which is the word of the Lord, the way of the community, which is just forgiving yourself onto sin. Hence why the right is always more convening to excuse people who touch children, because they have their come to Jesus moments a lot more often than people on the left. If they would have left me alone, maybe I have not done so much. She tells me Minaj post grew more conspiratorial and combative. She's always been combative. That's just how she is. I'm not gonna lie to you. In January, Trump's team invited Minaj to the White House for a launch of the proposed Saving Initiative for Children, a program that would offer government-backed $1,000 seed investments for U.S. children born from January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2028, with up to $5,000 annual contributions allowed. When she that's a pretty good thing. I think this is, I don't understand this completely. but I think this is a good thing just by me reading it. But I have to take with a bit of skepticism because I don't think Trump cares about the American population that much. I think Trump cares about America, but not Americans, if I could be so bold to say. When she arrived at the White House on January 28th, Trump was wrapping up a call with Speaker of the House Mike Johnson and Chief of Staff Susie Wiles. That's his Susie Wiles. Minaj recalls that Trump invited her to listen in the conversation, then took her on an informal tour of the Oval Office. She rode with Trump in his heavily armored limousine, known as the Beast, to the event. What wild masculine language, Operation Midnight Fury, all this stuff with the Beast. It feels so 2008 Borderlands epic wow zoomies language, just wrapped in this big verbosiveness. I guess that's why Trump is so childish, just using "this is the beast, this is the big guy, I'm been the big beautiful bill, this is the uber mega super schlex, this is the biggest event in history." Just very hyperbolic language to describe such mundane things in order to make yourself seem bigger than what you are, positioning yourself. This is this equivalent of wearing shoulder pads when you don't have the shoulders to back the shoulder pads. It feels strange. Backstage at the Mellon Auditorium, Trump's media team captured a TikTok exchange collaborated for virality. Trump crowned Minaj the queen of rap. I'm sorry, he has no credit. I mean, Minaj is a very prolific part of the rap culture, but he doesn't really get to decide that, right? I don't know. And she returned the compliment, calling him her favorite president. "I am probably the president's #1 fan," she told the audience, "and that's not going to change." I'm so proud of you, Nicki Minaj, because you have really just stepped your foot in a pile of human garbage. I'm so proud of you. Since then, Minaj only has become a bigger booster. She has advocated for legislation known as the SAFE Act to impose national requirements to Americans show ID to vote. In multiple posts and interviews, Minaj had encouraged her followers online to push their representatives in Congress to vote for it. Law enforcement authorities have found no evidence of widespread voter fraud, but Minaj, like Trump, argues that elections have been rigged by sinister forces. "People are voting that aren't supposed to vote," she says. Without offering specifics in our conversation, she speaks with instinctive confidence in Trump's false assertions about the 2020 election. "Obviously, I do not know, but I know that if it comes out and she says it, that he's done his due diligence, and I know he's not just making it up," she says. I don't trust Nicki Minaj, period, at all, about politics in any sense of the word. She should not be trusted just because she has a big platform. She is just rich, and she has used her rap skill to garner a large fan base. You cannot trust her on everything because she is using one skill to say she has a bunch of other skills. If somebody is good at baking, I do not assume they are great at climbing trees. I am not going to judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree. That seems insane to do. It doesn't feel correct of me to assume that about a lot of stuff right there. And also the big thing, the issue with the SAFE Act, if you don't know, is because there have been so many things that have been ruining ways for women to get their name changed or get when they get through a divorce, and when a woman doesn't have the name matching the ID doesn't match the name or the birth certificate or social security card, they have issues there, so it's hard for women to vote, thus kind of just making it difficult for women in general to vote. The SAFE Act does effectively harm women. We would need other legislative changes before I even come close to understanding why the SAFE Act would even be put in place. So there goes that. Minaj said she is available to help president with the midterms if asked. "I'll do whatever it is she tells me." Even as Trump world has attempted to capture some of her cool, I don't know what that means. She is still Nicki Minaj. Maybe that's Trump's world. I don't know. Complete with music industry beefs, a controversy courting online presence, and boundary pushing fans. Whether she can help to fulfill Trump's cultural realignment project remains an open question. But she insists she is hardly alone. "Many celebrities feel the way I do," she says, "but they don't say it. Sometimes you just need one person brave enough to get the brunt of the impact. I think I am the catalyst for change." I will be there when Nicki Minaj realizes she is on the wrong side of history, or she may never realize it. I feel as though historians are going to look back at this moment in history and see how wildly manipulative it is. And I hope that people take accounts from all these YouTubers talking about this. Atrioc especially, who is doing such amazing work to push and understand that Republicans don't get to say, "Oops, my bad," after this, because they're going to see the damage that this has caused the economy for years to come. As we're walking out of Mar-a-Lago to her car, Minaj embraces her role. Hopefully when they see me and hear me speak and feel my energy, she says, that will make them say, you know what? Who am I afraid of? What am I afraid of? So she's relying on vibes. Like, if you really break this sentence down, pin it to the dish like a butterfly, you are really relying on vibes overall at the end of the day. And that's the entire article. Sorry that took so long and I gave so much commentary. Let me give my closing thoughts. I think Nicki Minaj has always been to me a net negative by how combative and how cult-like a lot of her fan base is. I have vehemently been against Nicki Minaj ever since she went against Cardi B, ever since she went against Megan Thee Stallion, ever since she showed that she only cares about her own ego and her own pop sales and her own fan base, how she believes she is queen bee, queen of rap. She uses a lot of very combative, angry, ghetto black energy to get her point across, which is fair. You may liken this to saying, oh, she acts like a gay white man. Incorrect. Gay white men act like Nicki Minaj. Gay white men copy black women all the time. And I am steeped in this. I grew up with a lot of women in the household who were very combative and strong and powerful and spearheaded. I valued these women as pantheons and epochs, zeniths of strength. I always championed them in my heart of how powerful they were and how they took no mess from any man. And I find powerful women to be the cornerstone of a great population, a great economy, a great social backing. I think it's strong and powerful. I think it's important to have strong women in a lot of things. Nicki Minaj is delusional. Nicki Minaj is easily convinced by pretty words and networking anybody that agrees with her. She does favor for favor, tit for tat, quid pro quo all the time. That is just what she does. That is just how she operates as a human being. I do not think she is a net positive force for basically anybody. I think she is very harmful for the LGBTQ. I think she is very harmful for her young female fan base, all the young black women that follow her. I think she is very harmful for all the young black men that are queer. I think she is harmful for the entirety of queer people in totality. She has positioned herself as a cornerstone of the queer populace and now is using that as a backing to get queer people to try their best to vote for Donald Trump. And the worst thing about it, for as many people as she doesn't convince and can see through the nonsense, there are also people, that small percent, that see Nicki Minaj as just this larger-than-life figure. People that have spent their entire identities being barbs. There are people that are probably going to buy the Hogwarts Legacy 2 game that is getting announced that don't actively hate trans people but love Harry Potter but is supporting, you know, the actual harming of trans people. That's what happens because you worship a celebrity more than you care about your personal connections because you feel this weird parasociality to a larger-than-life figure, and that is a horrifying mindset to be ingrained in. It is a horrifying mindset to be ingrained under, to be pushed under the heel by people who are larger than life figures, who make your entire salary in an hour, your entire money you'll make in your entire lifetime in a month. That's what they do, and they do it casually for one brand deal, and they waste that money on one meal. All your life salary wasted on one meal. That's what these people are. Look at the price of the Met Gala tickets. You may say, well, it's going to a good cause, but they can casually toss that money aside and use that as a tax write-off for donations, and they come in these big, gigantic, gravitas verbose, just big, exorbitant, just gigantic moods of clothes. It feels crazy that celebrity culture is so worshipped nowadays because we're treating these people as gods when they bleed blue, same as me and you. Blood is blue, blood is red. They do these things over and over again, and that's a mindset that people have nowadays. Well, blood's blue inside your body because they're sneaky and manipulative. When it's out in the open, blood is red, like Republicans. It's red because it's gushing and it's running and it shows the real nature of a human. And that's what Republicans are, the nature of the human. And that blue blood inside your body is sneaky. It's trying to stay inside and hiding itself. That's why blue blood inside your body is gay and red blood outside your body is straight, because it shows itself. It doesn't hide away from what it is, and that's why it has to stay in the closet to stay blue. And if you're blue, you're probably gay. Yeah, and they're using logic like that, nonsense logic, pseudoscience like that, to justify just wild nonsense all the time. That doesn't make any sense when you really think about it for more than 10 seconds. That's really what happens all the time. It's these conspiratorial people that are partially schizophrenic, going nonsensical, ridiculous mode with induced psychosis from celebrity culture, using this as a way to just say, hey, guess what, buddy? If I could be so bold to say, you just gotta trust me. You just gotta trust me. Come on, look at this face. You trust that face? Yeah, you trust that face. Go ahead and vote for Donald Jamarcus Trump. His middle name is Jamarcus. That's right. He's blacker than what you ever thought. I know many people on the demon rats, the Democrats, are going to tell you that actively. His name is John. I don't trust a John, but I trust a Jamarcus. Donald Trump actually helped everybody in the inner city. Did you know that? He actually supported black businesses for billions of years. Billions. What he's doing is going to help people for billions of years. You're not going to see the full effect of it because he's playing 8D chess. He's in a league of his own. It's the art of the deal. How do you think he made it this far? You think he did it by just BSing and lying and manipulating people? Nah. People like that never get to the top. Only good, honest, hardworking Christians get to the top. And if you guys struggle just a little bit more, you yourself can also attain the goal of being at the top. You'll reach it one day. Nicki Minaj, to me, is somebody that happens when you meet your heroes. And I never want to meet my heroes because I'm 100% positive whenever I meet somebody, it is always more disappointing than the reality of the situation that is going on in the totality of what I'm understanding inside of my brain. It reminds me of anytime I see a game trailer and then I play the game and I have an idea about the game, but it's completely different than what I actually thought. I felt this way about God Hand. God Hand is much better than a game than I thought it was. I just saw the trailer, but it is that exact phenomenon of me understanding that, yeah, these celebrities, these people, these rich acolytes, these people that have so much wealth that I can't even fathom. I can't even fathom it. They don't care about people like me and you. They don't care about my struggles. They don't care about anything that I do. My life is nothing. I am a penny on a Fortune 500 company's payroll. Get it twisted. I don't matter in the grand scheme of things. Get it twisted. My life is meaningless and invaluable to everybody in the grand scheme of things in Hollywood. It doesn't matter. I'm a statistic. Get it twisted. I'm going to end up being blood on the pavement in the future. That's what's going to happen, and nobody's going to care about my life, and my family's going to forget about me in 2 weeks. Get it twisted. If I die before my wife, she's going to move on in a year. Get it twisted. That's exactly what's going to happen. I'm nothing in the grand scheme of the universe. Get it twisted. And I still choose to persist because the horse persists, and so do I. So yeah, that's how I feel about Nicki Minaj turning MAGA. Sorry I'm rambling like crazy today. That's pretty much how all my videos go. Have a lovely day or night wherever we're at, and also tell me how you feel about Nicki Minaj and all of her gooble gop. I'm out. Peace. Bye.